Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
I want to show you my hot little phone here. And I do mean hot, by the way. I don't know.
You got two of them.
Well, I'll tell you why I got two of them. There's a good reason for it. This is the HTC One. These are both AT&T, although, of course, you can get unlocked European versions. You can get them on Sprint, AT&T. I think Verizon's going to have it, T-Mobile. This is the hot, new Android device. And, boy, from a point of view of style and design, it is truly an iPhone 5 competitor. Unibody aluminum that just feels great in your hand. It looks great. It's a 4.7-inch screen, and like the Galaxy S4, this is going to be the new standard, I think. It is 1080 by 1920. This is a super high-res screen, and because it's so high-res, you can see it looks gorgeous, just rock solid. Let me unlock it so it stops timing out on us. It's rock solid. It just feels great. The reason I have two is this is mine. I bought this one, got it last week, and I've been really struggling with the batteries. Yesterday, using it somewhat normally, I only got to about 2 o'clock before I had to charge it. Taking it off the power at 7 a.m. and charging it intermittently in between, and I still only got to 2 o'clock. So this is the loaner from AT&T, and we're going to play with this a little bit. I've already noticed that battery-wise, this is doing a little bit better. I have some theories, though. In both cases, the battery leaves a lot to be desired. And, and I think, Russell, you'll agree with me, when you feel a phone get pretty hot, that's always a sign that it's probably not very efficiently using its processors, or there's maybe too much processor in here. This is a quad-core 1.7 gigahertz processor. It's pretty impressive, the Snapdragon 600. It is an LTE device. And the screen, I just got to continue to rave about the screen. This is HTC Sense 5, and while I'm not a big fan of HTC Sense, this is the best Sense yet. They've flattened it somewhat. This is the Blink preview where it gives you a kind of a flipboard-style information on the front page. If I scroll over, it's a little bit more like a traditional Android with the app grid and all of that. And we can, add more frames to it. I immediately, by the way, on my phone, put the Nova launcher on here. I just wasn't crazy about the HTC Sense launcher, but that's one of the nice things about Android. It's easy to put even Facebook Home on here, should you so desire it. You can see Sense has changed even the Android settings. In fact, they've taken out some settings that I really would like to have still. For instance, I'm very curious how much of this power consumption is screen time. HTC has elected to no longer show you how much screen time is using of the battery. And since that's probably about 80% of the battery use on this phone, this is not as helpful as it might be. But it is worth it. And this is maybe one of the reasons the battery keeps dying on me. I keep playing with the phone. You've probably seen that effect on a new phone where it's just really beautiful and there's great apps and you really want to try it out. You use it a lot more initially, and so the battery dies a lot faster. This battery life, as you can see, let me go back to that power setting here. We have 34% left. It's been 5 hours on battery. That's not too bad. That's about 2/3 drained after 5 hours and 11 minutes. That means in normal usage, I might get 8 or 9 hours. That's what most of the other blogs are reporting. That's why I'm a little suspect of the battery usage issues that I was having. It also could be something that we have uniquely here in this area. You may have it too. We have LTE here from AT&T, but it's spotty. And so I think the radio's hunting a lot. I noticed the battery life really went down as I drove around. And that can really be a problem. You cannot disable, unfortunately, the LTE on this phone. There's no setting. They've taken that out. I think that's an AT&T thing because I understand you can do it on some of the other carriers' phones. AT&T seems to have locked this phone down quite a bit. Nevertheless, despite that, despite the heating up, and it's pretty warm, make a good hand warmer in winter, despite the battery life issues, you have to be pretty careful about turning off radios when you're not using them, charging it whenever you can. This is still a spectacular phone. Here are some of the things you're really going to like. I don't know why no one's done this before. Front-facing stereo speakers. They sound great. Let me play a little bit of music on my phone for you. This is Beats audio. Now, I've always thought Beats was kind of a little bit of a scam. Nevertheless, I think you'll like the sound that's coming out of these. Here, let me. Yeah, we got Father Robert dancing. I mean, it's not a deep bass, but it sounds good, and certainly good enough to watch a movie or share a movie on YouTube with on this 1080 screen. That's fantastic. It's also good enough for audiobooks. In fact, I think it's crystal clear sound for audiobooks. So I found I was listening to audiobooks a lot. So stereo Beats, you know, HTC is an investor in Beats, and that's why you see the Beats logo on here. You get Beats headphones with this, and you can turn the Beats on and off on this. As far as I can tell, that's just a bass boost pretty much on this phone. They also did something a little bit odd. You notice the buttons are not the traditional Android buttons. These are capacitive, not physical. The HTC, which would normally be the home button on a Galaxy phone, does nothing. There is a home button, but it's over to the right. There's a back button. It's over to the left. To get the recent apps, you have to double tap the home button. You get used to that. It didn't take me too long to get used to that, but it is a little bit kind of non-standard in the Android world. A great 2-megapixel front-facing camera. And here's the other thing that they did that people are, it's somewhat controversial, or they're very interesting. This camera is back camera is a 4-megapixel camera. That means that they can make the dots on the sensor 2 microns. That's in some cases 4 or 5 times larger than the dots on some of these high megapixel phones. That means you're going to get better low light performance. And in fact, I found it was a pretty good looking camera. HTC does over sharpen a little bit, but you can turn that down. The camera application is quite sophisticated. There are a lot of settings. There's of course a broad range of scene settings, including one I was playing with, a monochrome setting that I really like. There's also a night setting, a macro setting, text setting, so you can scan in documents, a fairly good HDR. The panorama setting that we've become used to, they have a nice leveler in here so that you can keep it pretty level. They've done a pretty good job in this camera. I think the app is fantastic. In fact, it kind of makes sense because we just learned recently, Andy Rubin said, you know, Android was originally designed to be an operating system for cameras. That's really, I think, for a lot of us, something we're looking for. Full HD video playback. And here's another feature that HTC has been touting that I really like. It's called the Zoe mode. When it takes a still shot, watch this. I'm going to tap this, and the camera icon's going to go red. You need to hold it on the subject for 3 seconds. You see it's filling up the camera icon there. What it's doing is taking 20 frames in those 3 seconds. You can use any of those stills, or you can use it as a moving, kind of a fun little moving video. This gives you some really nice features. They have a best smile shot that lets you choose, although I have yet to get it working, a frame from those 20 frames for each of the people in the picture. It does face recognition, and and if you want to choose the best frame for each of them, you can do that. I kind of like it. It organizes by albums, events. Like I said, I never got it working, but I like the idea. Let's put it that way. And this is one of the things I really like from the Zoe feature. It will make a video out of your pictures from a particular event. So it adds music. It does the editing all together. And you can see it's using the Zoe to good effect here, pulling both stills and motion frames. These are all things I shot today on the camera. You have a variety of templates here. Now, there's only 6. I'm hoping that third parties will develop more of these. But this is kind of cool. I mean, look, you know, we're here doing fancy video production. Yeah, let me do it. There's a few more on here because I took more pictures on this other phone. I think that that's a nice feature. I'm really pleased with the camera. The low light performance is better, absolutely. I'm a little bit suspect. There's Tony getting ready for his close-up. I'm a little bit suspect of the camera in general. I think 4 megapixels. Yeah, it's fine for Facebook, but you can tell there's a little bit of over sharpening going on. Let's take a look at a Zoe from today, and I can choose a different template here. It's a little jazzier music. So it just takes pictures and Zoe's we've taken. Look how good this screen is, how great the sound is. This shows off this phone very well. Of course, the battery's going to die in about 3 minutes, and you can see why I killed the battery. You can't stop playing with it. It's a lot of fun. I'm not crazy about HTC Sense. They've done some odd things in here. They've changed some settings, moved stuff around. As always with the overlays, and by the way, you always get this little plug for HTC Zoe, but that's all right. I can also share this out directly now to their own Zoe site, but also to Facebook and other places. They have this built-in Zoe share. Let's not see that. Thank you. But you see, I can also send it in other places. Facebook Notes, which is Evernote, basically. It ties into the Evernote API. And AT&T Locker, presumably your carrier, if it's not AT&T, will have something similar. And then HTC's own website. I would absolutely immediately let me show you. This is another thing that I find a little annoying. The weather application that they use is HTC's own weather application, which is very nice. It's a nice little weather application. Where is it? I know it's here somewhere. I must have lost it. Is it in the AT&T thing? No. Well, let me tap. Maybe if I tap that. Yeah, there it is. It's very pretty. In fact, you can make this your desktop. But for some reason, it doesn't know about Petaluma, and so it says current location instead of the actual city. That's something they could easily look up. It's AccuWeather. They know Petaluma. It's just a little bit annoying to be told that the place I am is my current location. It's little things like that, where these are rough edges. I feel like HTC probably will fix in a firmware upgrade. That's another point. 4.1.2, it is not the latest Android, and HTC has traditionally been a little bit slow on updating these. So if you really want to be with the latest Jelly Bean 4.2, you might want to look at the Galaxy S4. That's going to ship with 4.2.2. This is an older version. Probably has to do something with the fact that they had to modify an existing version for Sense. So pros and cons on this. The pros, of course, are the look and feel. This is a beautiful piece of hardware. A phone that rivals in every respect the iPhone and iPhone 5. It is easily the nicest hardware for an Android device I've ever seen. By the way, they've solved the metal battery issue. Rather, metal antenna issue. This is a metal back with little plastic trim here that the antenna can go through. And NFC works on it as well. You can tap something to it, and the NFC works. I suspect the NFC chip is ported somewhere through, because as you know, it doesn't go through plastic, or go through metal. It has to go through plastic. Really, really brilliant design. Best screen I've ever used on a phone. Galaxy S4 will have a very similar screen, so we'll have to see it. Galaxy S4s will be OLED. Super AMOLED. This is an IPS screen. If you like the color rendition on IPS better, you might prefer this. I think it's absolutely the best screen I've ever used, and probably will be so for some time. Other pros, I'm very intrigued by the camera and the camera features and the functionality. I've been very happy with the images I've been getting. Yes, it's not super high pixel density, but you know, I think I can live with that, and I do love the low light and the Zoe feature. It just really is fun to play with. To have these little mini movies is just so much fun. Cons, though, battery life is bad. Now, I've looked at a lot of reviews, and most reviewers say the battery life is average. Most people I've talked to said they're getting a full day, maybe 8 to 10 hours on their battery. So I suspect it has a little bit to do with the wireless situation in this small town. So your mileage will vary, but it's something to be aware of, particularly on a phone like this where you do want to use it a lot. And because this is not a replaceable battery, that's another con, you're going to be stuck with the battery life that you've got. And if you can't charge it, you're out of luck. I actually went out and bought an extra little battery reservoir that I can plug into it because, you know I'm not going to get through a full day with this thing. The other negative, it does not support SD card. You have to buy either 32 or 64 gigs. I don't find that to be a real negative. That's similar to the iPhone. You choose the amount of memory you want. I've had problems with micro SD cards on Android devices. You can't move applications in many cases to them. It's usually just for data. Sometimes it's not well seen. So I think having it as part of the main storage is fine. But you're going to pay a little extra to get that 64 gigs if you need a lot of storage on this. It's definitely a buy. If you can live with the battery life issues, I can't imagine you being unhappy with this phone. It is an amazing phone. The sound quality, by the way, I guess I should review the phone capability, is very good. It's an excellent phone. Works very well. I haven't had any antenna attrition issues, which is interesting given the metal case. None of the problems that the iPhone 4 had. And as you can see, you can put another launcher on here, and you're not stuck with too much HTC Sense, except in some of the settings dialogues and things like that. Very snappy. Oh, one more thing. There is a power save mode. It lowers the processor speed from 1.7 gigahertz to, I think, 1.4 gigahertz. It does a few other things, dims the screen a little bit. I leave it on. I don't notice much difference. I would absolutely say leave that on. And when I went to the HTC store and I complained about battery life, they said, well, you probably should be turning off Wi-Fi when you're not using it, or turning off Bluetooth when you're not using it, or turning off GPS when you're not using it. I don't consider that a very good solution. But I do think that HTC has made the auto brightness a little bright on it. Companies do that a lot because they want that screen to look better. So they have, if you notice, auto brightness is very close to 100% brightness. That might be another way. That's auto brightness. That's 100%. It's 100% brightness. And we're in a very brightly lit studio. So I do get a big difference in performance. If you can turn down the phone to 50% brightness, suffer with that a little bit, that makes a big difference too. Turn on the power saver, turn down the brightness, save your battery, but don't save your money. This is a great phone. $200 to $250 depends on your carrier and what you're signing up for. If you're getting it through T-Mobile, of course, they have their unique plans, including, you can buy it on credit on time. The HTC One, an amazing piece of hardware. Very, very interesting. And I am going to give you a secondary report probably next week because I have a second phone now. We just got it this morning. And I will be side-by-side comparing battery life to see if it's the problem with this phone, if it's a dud, or if, in fact, it's a problem with our phone system and our network here. You've seen that before, right, Russell? But
yeah.
if you have weak LTE, it comes and goes.
I'm on Verizon, so it's a little different, and I can turn off 4G on my phone.
I would turn off LTE if I could because I don't need it.
It doesn't seem to switch to the 4G on my phone unless it's got at least 2 bars.
Right.
But I've been in areas where you're flipping between 1X and 3G, and even on my Droid Razr Max, which has like a 3200 mAh battery, I'll lose 20% in like half an hour.
Right. That's, I think, what's happening.
I've gotten used to certain places just putting the phone in airplane mode.
We're getting 5 bars, but I'm 4G. If I go out there, it'll be LTE. Yeah. Like that. And I think that's what's going on.
There's some things you can do to fix auto brightness on Android too. There's apps like Lux and other things.
Well, this is going to be rooted fast. In fact, they unlocked HTC offered an unlocked bootloader before the phone even came out. And I know the folks at CyanogenMod are already buying these phones and hacking on them. So I am sure that there will be lots of mods that you can make to this. You'll be able to root it the day you get it, I think, and you might be looking for a CyanogenMod.
The hardware is very
custom ROM. It's worth it for the hardware. That's what you're buying. It's frustrating that it's not a removable battery. I don't, in this day and age, why you'd make a phone. Well, because you want it to look like that. The fact the PCB board is actually right up against the metal here. The battery is wedged between the PC board and the screen. So it's not even on the surface here. It's in the middle of the phone.
I just want one a little bit thicker with a better battery.
Right. And by the way, that's why this gets so hot, because the processors are right there. They're on the metal, and that's why they made a metal case. It's not too hot to hold. Not too hot to hold. It's just it'd be a good hand warmer if it's in the winter. HTC One.